time today. Could you tell me your name and where you're from?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Angelica, and I'm from Singapore. I moved here about 4 or 5 months ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So still quite new.
Yeah, I'm very new to Tokyo. Yeah.
And why did you come to Japan?
Well, my partner and I, we both have always been huge fans of Japan, and we've been here multiple times. So we decided maybe we should try living here. Yeah.
I know life doesn't always go to plan, but how long would you like to live here?
We're actually thinking quite long term. Yeah.
Okay.
We're pretty interested in investing in the properties here. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Because coming from Singapore, the prices here are actually very affordable. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And why is it that both of you decided that Japan was the place that you wanted to move?
I think Japan has this good reputation in the world where it's always nice and always proper, always clean, always people are always courteous. So I think that was part of the reason why we thought maybe we should this is the country that it will be easier to move to, as compared to maybe the US right now.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to ask a little bit about the culture here in Japan. Is there anything that's really struck you in your time here? For example, something different or something that you really like about Japanese culture?
Oh yeah, so I know Japan is known as the workaholic country, right? But actually, right now I think Singapore is even more than Japan.
Really?
Yeah. So our lunch culture, for example, the working crowd, right? We rarely eat out. So we usually just go to the hawker centers and just get something and go back to our office, and we'll work as we eat.
I see.
Yeah, so something I've noticed here is that people actually go to the restaurants and order a lunch set, and they actually enjoy and talk to people. Yeah, so actually Singapore is even more workaholic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. Are there any other really big differences to the way of life in Singapore versus in Japan?
I think one of the reasons why we wanted to move here as well is because Japan is very big. You can travel to the countryside from Tokyo really easily. You don't have to take a plane to travel. You can just take the metro or sometimes Shinkansen, and you'll be in a totally different city or vibes,
Totally.
Yeah, whereas in Singapore, if you want to travel, because Singapore is really, really small, really compact, so everything is within walking distance almost. Yeah, so we don't really have much to do except going to malls or eating at restaurants. That's all.
I see.
Yeah. So if you want to travel in Singapore, you have to take a flight to Bali or Thailand, whereas here you can just travel within 1 hour, Yeah.
Right, I see. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Where have you been? Have you traveled much since being in Japan, either since you've lived here or in your previous visits?
Yeah. Usually I'll go to the same places, Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto. So those are the main ones. But then recently we've been taking more weekend trips. Where did we go? We went to Kaogoe.
Oh,
Yeah, and Kamakura.
Oh,
Yeah. And in February we went to Nagano for skiing. Yeah. So we've yet to explore really, really deep into the roots, Yeah.
But I think any time outside of Tokyo is going to show you a different angle of Japan anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't wait to travel more to the little towns.
Yeah. Where's on your absolutely I really want to go here list?
Oh, I really want to visit Hokkaido. Yeah, I haven't been yet. Yeah.
I went once. It was cold.
Yeah. During winter.
No, it was July.
Oh,
Yeah.
so is it cold all the time?
Not all the time, but it's significantly colder than
It's
May
nice.
times.
I like cold.
Okay, here we are then.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to move overseas was because of how hot Singapore is. Yeah, Singapore is always hot and it's always humid, more humid than Japan. So imagine 30, 34 degrees Celsius all the time. And when it gets hot, it's 40. Yeah.
I see.
And you'll always be sweaty and yeah, it's just not
Sticky,
nice.
yeah.
Oh, and one thing that I really appreciate about Japan is how people can just be themselves. Like they can just like dress however they want. Like especially in Tokyo, right? You can just like if you want to look like super punk or anything, like you can. Like no one will judge you. I mean, maybe they'll judge you, but no one cares.
Yeah.
But like in Singapore, you can't like really. Unless you're like Caucasian like expat, then people will be like, oh, because they are Caucasian, that's why. But then if you are Singaporean, yeah, no way. Yeah, usually people just dress very like basic. Yeah, because once you dress like a little fancier, like maybe like what I'm wearing today, people will be asking, oh, do you have a date tonight or something? Yeah, it's very like a bit oppressing. Yeah, that's why since I've moved here, I've been able to dress the way I want, like fully. Yeah.
Wow. There's this idea that the nail that sticks up will get hit down. That's the kind of general idea that many foreigners have of Japan. But from your story, it sounds like Singapore is kind of like even more like that.
Yeah.
So beyond dress, do you feel like you can really be yourself in Japan, or do you feel like there's an element of having to conceal yourself?
I don't know if it's because I'm like an expat, like in Japan, that's why I feel free. I actually feel more liberated. Yeah. I don't feel the need to like cover up or because coming from Singapore where it's much more like oppressed in a way. Yeah. Here I'm actually more open. I dare to speak to people. I'm more extroverted, like a little bit. Yeah.
Swinging now slightly to a less deep topic, what's your thoughts on Japanese food?
Japanese food, oishii, mecha oishii. I love Japanese food, but okay, so in Singapore, I was like a huge fan of Japanese food. Like I would eat like Japanese food maybe like every week, at least once, if not twice or more. And I thought like, okay, moving to Japan, it will be like quite easy because I already love Japanese food. But then, no, actually, I prefer Singaporean food.
I see. So like the Singaporean Japanese food, would you say that's like an accurate depiction of what Japanese food is like? Or is it kind of like changed to accommodate for the Singaporean taste?
Actually, no. I think Singapore has done a pretty good job in like maintaining the same taste. Okay, although it's obviously better here. Like even the train station like soba shops. Yeah, those are even better than like the restaurant level in Singapore. Yeah, there's more authentic flavor. Yeah. So I guess that's where like Singapore like misses the mark on Japanese food. But overall the overall taste is still there. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to know what you think about comparatively. How is like living in Japan versus living in Tokyo versus living in Singapore price-wise?
I know people think that Tokyo is like very expensive, but actually when you come from Singapore, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, I think our living expenditure like cut in half. Yeah. Even though taxes are much higher here, overall we save more actually. Yeah. So in Tokyo you could rent maybe like the cheapest, maybe like 300 USD or something like that. Yeah, but like you'll never find that in Singapore. Yeah, like the cheapest, even one room, like you shared apartment, at least like 900 USD minimum.
Wow.
Yeah, just one room in a shared apartment.
So
Yeah.
In daily life stuff or in the way that people act here in Japan, have you had any like massive shocks, like massive culture shocks?
Oh, okay. So I think within like my first month of like moving to Japan, I was a bit shocked because I always had the idea that Japanese people were very courteous and super polite. But yeah, I was a bit like shocked because my first week here, I actually encountered like a few very like rude incidents. Yeah, and even like those mama cherries, like yeah. So there was one lady, like she almost like bumped into me, like almost crashed into me, and I was the one who apologized, and she didn't even like apologize or acknowledge my apology and just treated it as like nothing happened. Yeah,
see.
it was quite weird. Yeah,
Yeah, for me, the topic of mamachari, I was like shocked that bicycles were on the pavement. I've never seen that before. And then when I went back to the UK for the first time, I kind of just like got confused and I cycled my bike on the pavement and I got yelled at by like a complete stranger. She was like, "You can't ride your bike on the road, on the pavement." I was like, "Oh yeah."
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's pretty similar in Singapore. Like it's not, the roads are not very friendly for bicycles. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even on the road. So if you cycle on the roads, like the taxi drivers and the drivers will hate you. And if you cycle on the pavements, like the pedestrians will hate you.
Yeah, so yes, it's a no
yeah,
win.
it's no. Yeah, so I think Japan is very like bicycle friendly. So
Yeah.
I think that's one good thing is that you can travel like anywhere. Like if you just commute to work, you can just like cycle there.
Yeah.
So I think that really cuts your like cost of transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, now back to people. I'd like to know your honest thought as a young woman. What is your thought about Japanese men?
Oh, Japanese. Okay. So I do think Japanese men are attractive. Actually, I think Japanese people in general are more attractive than like Chinese or like Korean. Oops, I'm gonna get cancelled. Yeah, so I do think they're attractive, but I'm just concerned about like the cheating, you know. Yeah.
So, is cheating a thing?
Well, I've watched a lot of the interviews where they said like cheating is quite common, like especially from the men. So it would just make me like less attracted to Japanese men just because of that. Like although I think they are attractive, but I wouldn't date them because of that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. What do you think is attractive about them? Like how they look, how they dress, their like manners?
Yeah. I think from what I know, like they dress very well. Yeah, they have a style and I like their mannerisms and they're always like polite-ish, like the good ones, right? Like, but I've actually heard some like horror stories about like dating Japanese men. Like apparently they are not super attentive. They don't really look out for you, or they don't really like. There's not like chivalry. Yeah, like they don't offer to pay. They expect you to pay for them. Like it's weird. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing so honestly and openly. And I wish you a wonderful life in Japan.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank
thank
you for
you.
having me. Yeah.